While the Democratic Party has not yet come to terms with the results of the 2016 election, and no clear leaders have yet emerged at the DNC or in the Democratic caucus in Congress, we here at Right Angle hate to see an American institution without a vision or a purpose. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this episode of Right Angle is brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. Well, men, from the earliest days of the American Republic, we've had two major parties, and while their policy focus and even their names have shifted over the years, one could argue that the ongoing debate between them has been healthful for the country, or at least it's been better than the prospect of unchallenged one-party rule. What I'm saying is that, in a very real sense, we need a vibrant and distinctive Democratic Party. So let's pretend we've been hired as consultants by the DNC, not to explain to them why they've fallen on hard times, but to teach them how to be the best backbenchers they can be for the good of the country for the next 4 to 8 years or more. Now, we've agreed beforehand that this will be sincere and not a snarky exercise in kicking a donkey while he's down. Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid is out, replaced by Empire State Senator Chuck Schumer, and of course, California Representative Nancy Pelosi abides as House Minority Leader. So in Congress, the Democrats have chosen leaders from New York and San Francisco, while Republican leadership hails from Kentucky and Wisconsin. It's almost a snapshot of the Electoral College divide for Trump and Clinton. Stephen Green, how can Democrats in Congress effectively govern from the minority?
Well, it pains me to do this without snark, but you asked, so I'll do this. Number one, you don't govern from the minority. What you do is you put up an effective opposition, and then you become the majority again, and then you govern. But there are really two things the Democrats need to do to achieve that. Both involve cleaning house. The first thing they need to do is clean the leadership house, and I mean sweep it bare. You've got Nancy Pelosi, who took the so-called permanent Democratic majority and killed it after 2 terms. What Harry Reid did to the Senate was so poisonous that not only did the Democrats lose the Senate in 2014, but they're in such a precarious position that going into 2018, they may lose 7 or 8 more seats and find themselves in a mirror image of where they were in 2009 with a 60-40 minority, giving Republicans carte blanche to push through pretty much anything. This leadership has been a complete failure, and you've got to get rid of the Clintons and their whole coterie. They have been poison. Almost any other Democrat would have been a better choice in 2016 than Hillary Clinton. And most painful of all, especially since he's so well liked by what's supposed to be a majority of the nation, is Barack Obama. He's been a disaster for your party. He's been just the worst figurehead of this party you've ever had. Cost you almost 1,000 seats, elected offices across the nation, including the White House. The second one is going to be even more difficult, but you've got to clear your party of bad ideas, bad policy. I don't mean you're wanting to look after the common man or respecting the rights of minorities and all the rest of the things that Democrats have stood for so proudly over decades now. But you've got to clear your minds of this bad policy that's been collecting since about 1968. You need to go back and read histories of China and especially of Rome, of the conversion from the Republic to the Empire, and how the Empire just corrupted itself and eventually was doomed by trying all the same policies that you've been advocating for the last 40 or 45 years now. They've all been tried before. They've all failed. And so you got to clear your mind and come up with new solutions, or you're going to be in the minority for an awfully long time.
Well, one could argue that while Americans divide over some social issues and perhaps approaches to the economy, peace, and war, the younger generations have become increasingly post-partisan. More now register as independents or vote that way, even if they're nominally partisan. Now, Bill Whittle, what can new leadership at the DNC do to rekindle a passion for the Democratic Party and to give it meaning and value again?
Well, the first thing, if I was kind of hoping for the snarky response, obviously, but the first thing I would do is say to the assembled Democrats, I'd say, guys, we got to get our act together and quickly, because those bastards over at BillWhittle.com really hurt us badly in 2016, and they're going to crush us in 2020 if we don't do something. I would say to them, I have one word for you, and the word is Tylenol. And the reason I would say Tylenol is because it's been cited thousands of times that the Tylenol response to a terrible, terrible situation where people were poisoning Tylenols and essentially almost destroyed the brand. They solved this problem by being direct with the American people, by being completely upfront, transparent, owned up to it, and immediately put in place measures that cost them a lot of money but restored confidence. So we have to do all of those things. We have to come to the American people. I don't say we have to necessarily say that what we did with all this progressive nonsense is wrong, but we have got to make it clear that we're changing course, because our strategy has been to divide the American people into smaller and smaller and smaller slices. And when you back Black Lives Matter and don't back policemen, you're going to lose the working man. And this is our critical problem. We didn't just lose working people to Donald Trump and lose the election because we lost that block. By losing working people, we've lost our brand. We've lost our brand and our identity. We used to be the party of the working people. We used to be the party that defended the rights of the small guy. We were always the big, giant shield that stood between average Americans and the greed and rapaciousness of these super rich capitalists. Worked for us for 200 years. We became more and more tribal, more and more isolated, more and more rich. Our biggest donors are, Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, and we hang out with celebrities. And it's not lost on the American people that the recent obsession with celebrity endorsements doesn't connect to the American people. They know they're all millionaires, and they don't give a damn about anything. So I would say make it about the job, stupid. I would get back to programs that basically were patriotic, because if you hate this country, you're still going to vote Democrat. I would go for patriotism. I would go for the rights of the little guy. I'd go for anything I could do, any legislation I could do to make insurance rates lower and less ideological. I would go to anything I could do to restore jobs. And I would, first of all, come out and explain all of this, that we've lost our way. And by the way, I couldn't agree more with Steve about changing the leadership. The Harry Reid portrait ceremony had Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Harry Reid, and Joseph Biden in that order. Their combined age was 71. The average age, rather, was 71. That's 286 years of politics up there on the stage. And really, what we were presenting to the American people is the most corrupt politician in the country, and then the second stupidest politician in the country, and then the second most corrupt politician in the country, and then the stupidest politician in the country. And we have got to find some young people and go back to this message of being the defenders of the rights of the average guy.
Hey, you know what, Bill? Scott, if I can throw in something really quick. If Democrats want fresh, young leadership, don't look to New York, don't look to California, don't look to Illinois. Look to Wisconsin and the Democrats who worked hand in hand with Scott Walker to solve that state's budget crisis and turn it around. Those are smart, sharp Democrats right there in the heartland.
By the way, I'm not worried about giving them this priceless information, because every sign that we see out there is an indication that they're going to double down on dumb, that they're going to keep Pelosi, that they're going to keep this identity politics up, they're going to make the only Muslim in Congress the head of the Democratic National Committee or something to show how progressive they are, and it's my very fond hope that they do exactly those things.
We're so accustomed to playing politics as a zero-sum game, with victory and defeat often more important than values, ideas, and policies. But the framers of the Constitution recognized the value in the ongoing debate. It's why Freedom's charter is so frustratingly vague at times. They didn't draft the Constitution in a vacuum of partisan passions, but in the full ferment of factional fighting. Remember, nearly half of the country did not want the new Constitution at all, or feared the consequences of ratifying this particular version. We need a functional and genuine Democratic Party, not like the Harlem Globetrotters needed the Washington Generals in days gone by as a hapless punching bag. No, we need a thoughtful, Jeffersonian and Jacksonian Democratic Party to fight for the rights of the little guy, to rail against the corruption in the nexus between money and power, and to advance governance that guards life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Of course, one might argue that these are the proper province of the Republican Party. But both groups tend to swing like a pendulum, further missing the mark as power clouds their vision. Though we're loath to admit it, we rely on the other party to provide the counterweight that swings us back again. My advice to the DNC and to Democrats in Congress: get out of your paneled offices. Drop your canapé and your champagne glass and slip into a pair of jeans. Go see the people who chose the other guy. Find out how they live. Humble yourselves and listen. If you'll do that with sincerity, you won't need further guidance from me or anyone. Forgive me. Did I say that's my advice to Democrats? For Bill Whittle, Stephen Green, and the Right Angle team, I'm Scott Ott. Thank you to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.